Hey everyone, welcome to Life in Full Send, Athletes Reimagined, the podcast where we discuss the experience of redefining life after being an athlete. I'm your host, Liz Hall, an athlete integration specialist and your teammate in navigating that big question, what comes after sports? Each week I sit down with former athletes who have faced that very question and share how they navigated their transition. Quickly, be sure to subscribe and share the pod so you can catch all the stories. This week's episode features Doron Willis, author of 2 incredible books and co-author of a third, a psychotherapist and the associate director of student athlete wellness at Michigan State University, former D1 football player. His motto, find your calm, dominate the game. He teaches it and he embodies it, a gift to any athlete who gets to work with him and lucky enough to call him my friend. Let's get into it. I think what you say is so important, and I think it's so relevant that athletes are so often validated throughout their lives based on production, what they've done on the field. But that gets confusing when we think it's about our worth or our value as a human. The value as a human is already established at birth. Our worth as a human being is already established at our birth. It becomes a problem when it gets confused with being the same as validation or recognition, acknowledgement. And when we chase those things, we will forever be empty because it takes one person to not give it to then feel empty. One person or one incident where you go to seek it, you don't get it, and then you're back to feeling worthless. That's the danger with when we don't recognize all parts of ourselves and honor all parts of ourselves and don't identify with any one of them as the whole. There's no one part of us that's the whole.
Right. It's the extremes. To your point, if you don't get the pat on the back, good job, and then instead of that, you suck, that's your self-worth, your self-esteem, all of that is just going to just shatter in so many pieces because you are depending on sources outside of you to make you feel whole when, like you said, at birth, we're already whole. But society put their ideologies and their beliefs, families, it covers up the golden light that we already possess.
Well, and talk about the hardest industries to break into, sports. And so how many think that their only way out of poverty or of this socioeconomic cycle is something that's so far out of reach for most people? What does that do to self-esteem, to basically be set up against the system from the get? I mean, arguably, most people are set up to not reach that type of fame to where you'd be top people. It's so rare. And so if we start to have the belief system, which is just the thought repeated of this is my only way out, then we find ways to be right about it. And that can come at a huge destructive path.
Yep, it is. Yeah, it's so hard to break into those industries. Like, it's so many people that you have to depend on to say, yes, you have my permission to do this.
Have you ever heard this? Feather brick truck. I use it very often. When we are meant to pivot or change environments or go to a new level or heal some part of ourselves, we will get the nudge with a whisper or a feather.
I know where this is going.
Very gentle. Hey, look at this. Hey, this is where you're going next. And then back to your point of, okay, and you can throw the tantrum and resist it. And then life will throw a brick at you. And that brick has a little sign on it and it says, this is where you're going next. And then you can, of course, choose to accept or continue to resist. And then the truck will hit you. There, we can resist. I can resist every single indication, every single intuitive hit that I get. I can ignore all of that, and there will be consequences because nothing for
Absolutely.
naught. Every
Absolutely.
choice has a consequence. What's challenging about athletes in college is consequences. That's the last to develop at around 24, 25 years old. They don't have the capacity to look at, if I don't go pro, then I must find something else. It's this narrow, I got to do this. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. And I get that. And we must open those neural pathways to just invite in, hey, I hear you. If this doesn't work out, then something else will.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I did go back to school, because my divorce was the catalyst of it. And at the time, my son was like 3 or 4, he's 17 now. But I remember going through that moment, and I said to myself, something has to change. And I immediately just thought about him. I made it bigger than myself at that time. Well, I still do. But I said, I want to be more for him. And so I like, well, let me go back to school. Let me finish, get my undergrad. And that's what I did. I went on and got my master's and became a licensed marriage and family therapist. And now I'm in the process. I'm in my second year of my doctorate program. But when I was applying to my master's program, and they asked that, I had to write the personal statement essay and asking like, why you want to be a therapist. And, my response was, I want to help people, but specifically, and I wrote this in all my statements, I want to help athletes not only perform well, but also help them develop a new sense of identity beyond sports, because that was my struggle. And so even so today, I think I share this like every week with an athlete. I said, because they get so fixated on, well, this is my major and I have to stick with it. And I say, slow down, take a breath. I understand why you feel that way, because I once felt that way. But here's the reality. I said, before I became a therapist, I probably did like 5 other things. Personal trainer. I worked at an insurance company. I thought I was going to be an actor and a model. I thought I was going to be a rapper. I thought, I did all of these things. And yet here I am doing this. You don't have to stick with one thing. And so that is one of my biggest reasons why I do the work that I do, is to help them understand you are more than playing sports. You are more than that jersey number. And I said, and here's the reality. I said, you may not believe it, but the sooner you start to identify who you are outside of sports, the freer you'll be able to play your sport. Because if things don't work out, it'll be disappointing. Don't get me wrong. You'll be hurt a little bit, but you won't be devastated, because you will have identified the next thing that you can possibly do to bring you just as much success. And that's how I cultivated my inner peace, is daily gratitude, starting my morning with it, throughout the day, expressing, and even in some of my most challenging moments in the day, I thank you, God, I know you're with me. I thank you for giving me the ability to overcome this moment. And that has given me so much inner peace. You think it's just, not being around people, but it's so much deeper. No word right now would do justice of that feeling. It's something that has to be experienced.
Agreed.
Right? It's like me telling you how how water feels, or like what it feels like to be wet. Like it's like you really, like, I can try to describe it, but you won't know until you get in the pool.
It's a feeling. I describe places like this where people will say, because I've traveled a lot, what's this place like? And I say, I can't describe it. It's a feeling. It's a vibration. It's a feeling. And
Yeah.
that is so personal. It feels like you are in an awakening, albeit young.
Where they say the dark night of the soul. I was in my,
yes.
I was
Yes.
shifting from what was familiar, going to an unfamiliar, but in the middle of that was like this it's almost like this holding space. It's like, okay, am I going to keep moving forward, or am I going to go back? And so that's what it felt like.
And it's messy. That's my book. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote my first book, that space between no longer and not yet. You
Yes.
know you're no longer this, and you don't resonate there, but you don't know where you're going quite yet. There's no
Mm-hmm.
grounding. There's no groundedness. We don't have our footing, and it's very heavy, and it's so sacred.
Yep.
It is so, every season arguably is sacred, but those
Yes.
spaces where we're being transformed to that next place, that whatever you believe maybe has been decided upon before you even entered this life, by the way. Doron, you are so special in your experience, wisdom, and the heart that you carry to help others. Thank you so much for being part of this. If this episode inspired you, please share it with a fellow athlete or friend navigating their next chapter, because we're all just writing our playbooks as we go. Next week, we have a D1 women's soccer player turned therapist who shares about her experience with overcoming injury right before her big break into college soccer. It is incredible and knowledge-packed. Don't miss it. Until next time, please remember, the game ends, but your story doesn't. Keep living life in full send.